Hello, everybody, and welcome to another feature artist spotlight. Today, I have something a little different for y'all. This guy is a beast when it comes to artwork. He is one of my buddies. We met at the Academy of Art University in San Francisco a long time ago, 10 to 12 plus years, and now I was able to connect with him. Allow me to introduce you guys to Romali. Romali, how you doing today?
Hey, what's up, Camila? How you doing, bro?
Oh, doing fine, man. So happy that we were able to connect and that you're here today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, brother, for the invitation.
Absolutely, man. So, first off, let's go ahead and get started with some introductions. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your life. What classes did you study, and what helped you prepare to become the artist that you are today?
Okay, so I'm originally from San Diego, California. I grew up in a community of Paradise Hills, National City. I grew up watching like like cartoons, like Transformers, Robotech, G.I. Joe, He-Man, that kind of stuff. And then I got into comic books, and I wanted to be like the next Jim Lee, like I love the X-Men and everything. And so I was like, as a kid, that's what I wanted to do. And then probably like when I was like around 11 or 10, I got introduced to graffiti. One of my best friends, childhood best friends, and he pretty much broke the whole culture of it down to me, like the whole hip hop culture and everything. After like getting exposed to that, that changed my life. Like graffiti, like I wanted to be like one of the best graffiti artists like in San Diego or in the world. So I started just pursuing graffiti and just trying to learn the craft of that. Then I got into hip hop and started learning like about b-boying and DJing and everything, and got into those too. In high school, I got into this art class, which is called art productions, and it was a class taught by a football coach, but he was an art teacher. Yeah, like this class became like very renowned, and so like a lot of graffiti artists wanting to get in this class because you're doing like big ass like murals, you know what I mean? Which was pretty much what we were doing on the walls too. One of the guys that was in the class like 10 years before me was this guy named Ricky Nierva, and he became like an art director at Pixar, and he went to Cal Arts and went to animation round and everything. And so my art teacher and saw that I loved to do characters, but on the wall and everything, and like I didn't know what I was getting. I thought like I was gonna join the Navy actually because that's what my dad did. I talked to my art teacher and told him about that, and he's like pulled me off to the side and just had this long talk with me and told me about like what you choose to do as a career is pretty much like a big like chunk of your life. If you think about it, when you go for your 9 to 5, that's like half of your day already, and if you break it down into a year, that's like a good amount of your year. So if you choose something to do as your career, something that you don't like doing, you're spending like half of your life doing something that you don't want to do or that you don't love doing, which is what a lot of people end up falling into because you got to survive, you got to make money, you got to provide for your family. Pick something that you love to do, like as your career. Doing something that you love as a job or career, you don't work a day in your life. Of course, you're going to have your struggles and ups and downs with what you do. You're going to want to go to work. You know what I mean? You're going to want to go to work every day and try to get good at your craft. And if you start getting good at something, you start to become great at it. And if you become great at something, that's when you start like revolutionizing, you start changing things, and start influencing and inspiring people to want to do the same. So he inspired me to going into the art school route, and so that's when I decided I want to go to Cal Arts because that's where Ricky Nierva went. Because like everybody in that art production class, we looked up to Ricky as the role model. So we're like, okay, this is the path to go. Like we're gonna try to make it to Disney or Pixar. And I had like two other homies that were in my class with me, and they were like my like sparring partners. It was like some kung fu shit, you know what I mean? Like we were like, all right, we had like this whole scheme or plan, like we're gonna get into CalArts and we're just gonna try to make it Disney and Pixar and just try to become successful at this shit. CalArts required like that you had a good, strong portfolio that was filled with life drawing and good, strong life drawing. So we were like just trying to go to every figure drawing class that we could go to at every community college, every workshop we would go to. We would drive up to CalArts for the free Sunday workshops they had up there. And so we all submitted our portfolio. I was the first one to get in, and my other two homies didn't get in at the same time. But eventually, they just kept trying, and like my homie got in the next year, and then my other homie got in the year after that. And then it turns out we all ended up at Cal Arts and stuff. Yeah, so I made it to Cal Arts, graduated. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the job. I found like little like small project like gigs here and there, but yeah, I couldn't find the job. And then I ended up moving back down to San Diego. My homie, he hit me up out of the blue because I couldn't find any art jobs and asked me if I wanted to move to Las Vegas to work as a slot machine game designer. I moved out to Vegas for a year, which
Right.
was pretty cool because even though it's not the animation, everything that you do as a visual development artist or concept artist that you would do for a video game or for film, you were able to do that for the slot machines. So I was applying everything that I learned in school doing a slot machine game. So when I would design a slot machine game, I would treat it like it was like a movie or a video game. And so I did that for a year. Decided like, man, I want to go back to school, Academy of Art. Like, one of my dreams after high school was always like I always wanted to move to San Francisco because and after like getting that taste of living in San Francisco, I was like, man, this city is like the shit. Like if you're there, any creative mind, like this is the place to be. Like if you're here, you're gonna grow up. You're gonna grow strong if you like go here and like study, you know. But so I told myself like, okay, after high school, my goal is to like at least make it to San Francisco and like at least either go to school there or work there and become a better artist because I know that that was going to be a nurturing place. When I found out about Academy of Art again after like I was working in Vegas and that they had a master's program in animation, I was like, oh shit, you know, because I still wanted to try to work in the animation industry. So I was like, okay, let me see if I can still try to make it in there. I went back to school, got into Academy of Art, and got in the master's program for visual development. Yeah, went to school, met you there, you know. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And I honestly I could say those 3 years at the academy and in San Francisco probably were probably like some of the 3 best years of my life. Like just being there was just like an adventure, you know what I mean? And I got so much better like artistically, like. And then unfortunately my pops passed like a week after I graduated, so I had to move back home and kind of just help out my family and whatnot. Yeah, and then I ended up getting a job at Sony, and I ended up doing a concept art for Sony, working on it's called PlayStation Home, a game like The Sims, where it's just like a life, what's it called, a life replicator, like you like buy your own like clothes, apartment, and so I was like just doing that, just doing hella concept art for Sony, just doing all kinds of stuff like
Ah,
clothing designs, furniture design, like all kinds of stuff, you know. But it was temporary contract, so they hired me on, lay me off, hired me on, lay me off, and it was unstable for me. So I was like, man, I can't handle this, you know. I mean, I left my job in Vegas, the slot machine gig. You know, I left on good terms with him, and he told me like, if ever you need a job, come back to Vegas. The door's always open. So I decided to go back to Vegas after Sony, just because I couldn't handle the whole instability of it. And I started working again as a slot machine game designer. But I was very unhappy in Vegas. Vegas was just not my city, you know. Like, yeah, it just wasn't for me, bro. Like, I love California, man. Like, I love the ocean. I love sea green. Like, whole different vibe in Vegas, bro. But the good thing, it was a blessing in disguise because in Vegas, you know, I would do my like, you know, 8, 9 hours at the job at my 9 to 5, but then I would come back home just hungry and work another 12 hours just working on my own stuff because I was just hungry to just try to find something with my art, you know, that wasn't so, not to knock the slot machine job, but like I felt like I was a slave, man. And like every day felt the same. Like, and I was doing artwork that like I couldn't show to a lot of people because we couldn't show a lot of the designs that we were doing unless the game actually got published or was put out there. Even with Sony, I did like a bunch of concept art and designs for Sony that they either threw away or just I can't show to anybody, you know. And that's the nature of visual development and concept art. You're gonna be doing a bunch of drawings and paintings and all kinds of work that nobody's gonna ever see, you know. I know it's the nature of it, but man, it's heartbreaking, you know. You spend all this time on like a design or character and can't even show it to nobody, you know. That's how it was at Sony. That's how it was at the slot machine gig. So it's like, man, like,
you got
yeah,
nothing to show for all those years, effort, and
yeah,
time. And I totally relate to that. And just for the audience to know, this is extremely common. NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, it is something that happens and you cannot talk about them. The only thing that you get is that experience, I guess.
I have no regrets about that. I'm grateful for that. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, man, like, what's the legacy that I'm gonna leave behind? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, just coming up to the decision that, like, man, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I gotta find something else, you know? And so I moved back to San Diego, but they were letting me work off site. So I was like, communicating with them through Skype and all that. And then, like, I ended up going to my friend's house when I moved back to San Diego and just linking up with them, just chilling. And he had just finished his tattoo apprenticeship and was getting into tattooing, and he had his machine there with him. And he asked me like, "Yo, you want to try messing with it?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." So spray paint is my favorite medium. Like I love working with aerosol art, and
Mhm.
the feeling I got when I picked up a spray can was like one of the greatest feelings I ever got. And it was like, man, I gotta learn, I gotta master this craft, I gotta master this tool. Like I want to learn this art and learn this tool. And so that same feeling I got when I picked up the tattoo machine and messed around with it. From there, I was like, okay, I don't know if I want to do this as a job or career, but I want to learn how to do this and like master this craft and just have it as another weapon in the arsenal just because I love just learning different types of art and just learning like whatever I can learn, and whatever's fun. And I ran into like my old childhood friend that was into tattooing. And every time he would like set up a new shop or set up he would have me come and paint a mural there. When I ran into him at the 7-Eleven, he was like, yo, I just picked up a new studio. Like, I need you to paint it again. So I was like, all right, cool, cool. Ended up painting a mural at his new shop. And then it turned out that him and his girlfriend were looking for an apprentice. And then, like, it turned out that I wanted to learn how to tattoo. So I was like, it was just kismet. Like, it just fell into place. And so here I am now. Where I'm at now is, yeah, I'm tattooing now. So tattooing now is my full-time gig. It's a lot of work, a lot of hustle, and a lot of struggle too. What I get from it that I couldn't get from out of like working like at the slot machine gig or at Sony was I could say that this artwork is mine, even though it's on somebody else. It's on a person that's the canvas. I can say that that's my work. You know what I mean? Like with I think that's kind of like some of the big drawback for working like at a Disney or at a Pixar or something. You know what I mean? Like, you could tell people that you worked on this movie, but that's not your stuff. You know what I mean? That stuff is owned by Disney or Pixar. You know what I mean?
Amazing trajectory, man. And I'm really glad that now with tattooing, you have found literally that piece that you were missing before.
It's crazy because it took almost 40 years to get here. You know what I mean? So
You guys know if you are ever in San Diego, visit my homie here, Romali. He got you. And I'm gonna tell you, you will not be disappointed because this guy's art is just incredible, insane. So, Romali, can you tell us a little bit about now your inspirations? Like, what artists have you maybe follow, and you like that may have maybe inspired you?
oh man, everybody, bro. Like there's a graffiti artist named Saturn. He's one of my like favorites right now. Tattoo artists, my mentors, Sherwin and Norma and Christy Tran. There's this tattoo studio out in Canada called Chronic Ink. The artists from there, like man, they're all hella dope. And this is other artist, tattoo artist named Joshua Carlton. He's pretty sick. I still look at like the masters too. Alphonse Mucha will always be like one of my all time favorites. J.C. Leyendecker, that's one of my all time favorites too. The masters like Michelangelo and Leonardo. Man, there's too much, bro. I could keep going on and on, man.
That's good though. I'm really glad that you mentioned the masters because that is something that us who had a serious background on art, we do follow. And you have a bunch of people that might be new up and coming and they have not even considered studying the masters.
Yeah.
They go ahead and study whatever might be trending, but the importance of the masters, the basics, were groundbreaking, and they still are when you start studying them.
Or the way I see it too is like a lot of the kids or like younger generation that probably like are only like studying artists within their era or like not too far back. Those artists that they're studying or like inspired by were probably inspired by those masters and inspired by the masters before them. You know what I mean? So it's like a waterfall. You know what I mean? Like whoever is great right now and that's at the top of the food chain or that people are looking up to, they're looking at the masters and looking at all the people, their predecessors before them, people who laid down the foundation and did all these great things before them to allow them to do those great things that they're doing now. Like say with basketball, you wouldn't have a Kobe or a LeBron if it wasn't for a Jordan, but you wouldn't have a Jordan if it wasn't for a Magic Johnson and a Bird and a Dr. J and everybody else who came before them.
Absolutely. What do you think is out of your creative process the most difficult aspect you deal with?
Man, the most difficult, I'd say, is probably coming up with like ideas or concept, like the
Okay.
concepts that, and trying to keep it fresh. You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes, like, say with the tattooing, like, I always have to end up doing like certain things like over and over again, like a flower or like certain flower, like roses. Roses are real popular, real common, and so it's like how many times, like, how can you flip this? You know what I mean? Like how can you do it differently than the way you did it last time? How can you do it differently from this other like person or something like that. So I think that's one of the hardest parts is just trying to keep it fresh and new and trying to see it in my head first before I actually draw it out. You know what I mean? Like seeing the whole bigger picture of it, how to put it all together. I got to do this piece, but it's got to be like a tiger with a glass of milk with an umbrella, like stuff that just like doesn't go together. Like why, like why would this together? Like how do you put this all together and make it look like it makes sense and make it look as a cohesive piece? So I think that's one of the hardest things too.
Wow. So there's a lot of storytelling involved with that process that you go through even on. Wow, that is
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, bro. Like a lot of storytelling, you know.
That's awesome. What about the designs that maybe you enjoy working with the most? Is there like a particular subject that you are like, oh, this is my thing. This is what I love
Oh,
doing.
I definitely love like animal portraits. One, it's a little easier than doing like a human portrait, like especially a female portrait. Female portraits to me are the hardest thing to do because, you know, when you draw a female, you want her to look beautiful, you know, and like one little like if the eye isn't lined up or if like it's too close together or like off, then it's just like, oh, you know. But if it's an animal, you can get away with those kind of things. But the reason why I love animals is because you got like textures, like you got all different kinds of, and you got different kinds of animals out there too. So you can do all kinds of different like textures and like techniques and stuff like that. I like that, and then I love like drawing like samurai like helmets and stuff like that. So stuff like that, and just yeah. But then it really depends on what I'm feeling at the time too. You know, like I go through moods. You know, like but so far, like animal portraits and like samurai warriors and stuff like that, and, like robots, have always been like my like I will never get tired of drawing those things. You know.
Yeah, yeah, man. Oh, awesome. So, words of wisdom for maybe any aspiring artists, maybe somebody who might be starting off their career. What tips maybe you can give them?
First thing I say is love what you do and do what you love. You know, if you're gonna do this art thing, you gotta love it. That's the first thing because having the love for it is going to keep you in the game, and being in the game is what's going to help you get to becoming great because you don't get great overnight. It takes time and hard work and persistence. And so if you love what you do and you become good at it, like I said, you can become great at it. And if you become great at it, then that's when you start revolutionizing and changing things, you know, and inspiring other people to like follow that same pursuit or same path to become great with something that they want to do. And so I would say just focus on loving your craft first and trying to get good at it because it's skills that pay the bills. You know what I mean? Like if you're really that dope, then it'll show in the work. You know, and if you have that strong work ethic, that'll help you get to that point. And so I would say, yeah, just focus on your craft. Be a sponge, absorb everything that you can like lay your eyes on, like every outlet and every little bit of knowledge that you are available to, absorb it, try and use it and apply it to what you do.
Lastly, if anybody has any questions, what social medias?
On social media, I'm on Instagram. It's Romali underscore habitat 2. So that's ROMALI underscore HABITAT 2. Yes, I'm just on Facebook and Instagram right now.
Awesome. Well, let's give a big hand. Thank you so much, Romali. This has been amazing.
Peace, everyone.